We're here to tell three stories that kind of intertwine. One is the story of Food Lit. The other is about the workshop in the Garden of the Home God. And the third is the story of the Navajo Kentuckians. A lot of people start some of these stories off with a deficit story. And they say, you know what, Fern Creek High School in Louisville, Kentucky was in the bottom 5% 5 years ago. It was audited by the state. They removed 50% of the teachers. Our principal, Dr. Barber, in the bottom right-hand corner, fought to try to keep his job. He was able to stay there, but we still had a school with a broken culture that was labeled failing by the state, and we were known throughout the district as the school with the best lockdowns. It wasn't a great place, and a lot of people start with that narrative. That's not the one that Peters and I do. We saw it as an opportunity. You see a school that's failing? Awesome. That's going to be a bed for innovation. All right? It's going to be a bed for freedom. And Dr. Barber came over to my house. I'm an urban homesteader. When I bought the house, I tore it all up, planted a garden. That's all popcorn there. He started poaching teachers from around the district. He came over to my house. We looked in my gardens. We picked a whole bunch of stuff, went back, got some eggs for my chickens, and we made an omelet. And as we sat on my front porch eating it, he wrote up my contract. And it said, come and do cool stuff with kids. All right? That's where we started. Now, to fast forward 5 years, we went from the bottom 5% up to above 60% of the schools in Kentucky. We went from having 19% of our kids college and career ready up to 56%. And across the board, our scores are blowing it up. It's fantastic. But you know what? I'm not a numbers guy because that's great. Numbers are awesome. We have less people on our back. But the story that we're going to tell you is the stuff that really matters. And these young people in front of us are the ones that really matter. And we're going to dive into that a little bit. Now, we are developing a food studies program there. And we have a cooking club, and an environmental club, and a global issues class, and a food and history class, and a food sociology class. And we have a massive school garden with a flock of chickens and a flock of ducks. And we just had our massive Thanksgiving dinner where we went everything from processing the duck to cooking it to making all of the dishes and sitting around a table with 40 people. But the flagship program is this class called Food Lit that my colleague Brent Peter and I had the privilege to design. And we designed it to be humanizing. We designed it to make these students feel like people and to be part of a community and culture that actually mattered. And to do that, we work. We went out to the greenhouse. We built 26 school gardens throughout the district. We have our raised bed gardens that we raise food over the summer and we sell at a local farmer's market. When we talk about good food in class, guess what? We go out and we eat good food. You want to know what a watermelon is? All right, we take it out and we smash it on a bench and we eat it. And it's fantastic, and we drip with this experience.
One of my early food mentors is my dad. He just retired from Colgate. My mom was a cook in the house, and when my mom was out, my dad would bring my brother and sister and I together, and he would say, listen, would you all like grilled cheese or fried bologna? And we say humanizing. What I mean humanizing is that we tell stories about us that help us to know each other. And it's kind of what happens at the dinner table, right? Like we get to know each other. We start our Food Lit class with a single word. The word is food. And we say, listen, every single person in here has a food story. And it links you to the people you love, the experiences that you have, fond memories, favorites, food confessions. And we all have little food confessions in here. You're like, that time, whenever. Okay, these are really good stories. So the next invitation is to say, listen, let's share these stories. And our first essential question in the class is, what is good food? It's a loaded question. And we look at, well, what does good mean, right? And eventually the literacy, we're just starting to dive in.
It's about creating a curriculum that mirrors reality. When you come to write anything, you want to have that experience. You want to have that depth of knowledge. And that's what this garden, that's what this class preaches. And if you don't have the garden there, if you don't have these people pushing you, you need to create it. And we're about creating that situation where these kids can go out and pull these things together and make the metacognitive connections to try to pull these contents, to try to have their education mirror reality.
We started something this year called Campfire. And the idea is that, you know what, if we know what to do at a dinner table, why don't we turn a class and sort of have a class that's like a dinner table where every voice counts, where knowledge moves around. And so we take a piece of literature, like maybe Pablo Neruda's Ode to Apples, or Gwendolyn Brooks, The Bean Eaters. Or maybe we look at something from Maya Angelou, I Love the Look of Words. What we do is we make something that's related to the text that we're studying. And then we annotate it like crazy. We call it blowing things up, right? We blow things up in Food Lit. And we share. We all have a thing that stays with us, and we want to share it out. So we understand the contours of literature together, and we experience them together, and have fun too, and learn a healthy recipe. We also say, listen, let's look at chemistry. Let's look at the complex messaging behind a Skittles wrapper or a Mountain Dew, and let's find out what it means to have all this sugar.
I want to talk about one of my students, Sydney. She has been part of the Navajo Kentuckians. She went with us out to the Navajo Nation. She was a gracious host when they came back to visit. And she's also been a leader in the kitchen. And she led our school cooking team to place second in the first Farm to School Junior Chef competition. This is coming from a school that doesn't have an official culinary program. Not only that, but she's also started to take it in on her own life. She knows her family has a history of obesity. She knows her family has a history of certain types of cancers. And as she's going through this, as she's looking at food and going in the garden, and she's studying all of these things and realizing that we are what we eat, her father's also having surgery. So she's starting to reflect on these things, and she's coming to us, okay, how do I change this in my life? How do I take what I learned and actually make it who I am? And that's what we're about. We're about empowering them, because that's what education is supposed to do.
These young students from the Navajo Nation, from Window Rock and Ganado, are going to talk about the impact of food literacy, the Garden of the Home God workshop, and their work in the Navajo Kentuckians. And one of the ways that this sort of manifests itself is through a blog that we created. When we worked together, when we had a workshop together, we formed an identity called the Navajo Kentuckians. We visited farmers, and we visited chefs, and we had a meeting with the mayor. And we visited culinary schools and Canyon de Chelly, and we talked with elders, we talked with teachers, we talked with market shoppers. And we said, listen, what happens when we bring what we know back to the classroom and produce digital case studies? So we used the Navajo Nation as a classroom and the state of Kentucky. The Garden of the Home God workshop started at the Bread Loaf School of English in Vermont. And it started with a lady that I want to recognize here, Dixie Goswami, who's wonderful, and basically she challenges teachers to have dreams and goals that scare them out of their wits. All right? And if you have a chance to sort of just brush by her, it's going to be wonderful for you, because she's got an idea, and a wonderful idea, that's going to challenge you to be better and more amazing. The Bread Loaf Teacher Network brings teachers, brings people together and creates opportunities for collaboration. And Vice President Rexley Jim from the Navajo Nation is a Bread Loaf alum, among other things. He's a poet, he's a writer, he's a scholar, he's a Vice President of a nation, and he's a medicine man. It all started with Vice President Jim having a visit to Bread Loaf School of English. We did a presentation, and he said, let's try a workshop in the Navajo Nation. Let's try one at Diné College.
Yat Shea Rexley Jimin, shaking the chin in Shlintachin, Bashichin. Kiani da Shichina Kidne, da Shinale, Sensades, Ado da Shatel, don't hold a quake hashed. We formally introduce ourselves in this way. When you say, I'm a Kentlechini, I'm of the Red House people, you're no longer an individual, you're a part of a collective body. Not only of people, but of knowledge, of history, of land, of how you view the world, and you have a responsibility to that. We started in the Garden of the Home God workshop. There's a story about the Home God who was singing and planting. He was planting in Canyon de Chelly, and he sang songs and prayers, and so the corn, the squash and others, it grew in one night and one day. And so we always do that with prayer, that things are sacred. And one of the songs that starts off is, and that means my corn is praying for me. You are such a spiritual being that all your surroundings, they pray to be a part of you. So how then do you become a person that attracts beauty and balance and all this wonderful stuff? And that's what in the garden of the home God teaches. We tell our kids, if you plant white corn, you don't get squash, you get white corn. If you plant squash, you don't get watermelon. It's a very simple concept. We also let them know that the most powerful garden in the world is right here between their ears. The brain, the human mind. That whatever you plant in there, that's what you think about, and that's what you pray about it down, and you run with it and put it into action, and during the day, that's what you work on. That's what we do with our children when we talk about literacy, the language usage. We want to instill in them not only values and principles, but specific actions that will allow them to use language in ways that would help solve the many problems that we face today. What is the point of using language, whether it's oral or in writing, when you cannot use it to address basic needs? The Navajo Nation, more than 40% of our people do not have running water or electricity. More than 50% of our nation deals with obesity and diabetes. We don't have the human resources, the capital, etc., to address these issues. But what do we have? We have students, lots of them. And so when we connected with Brent, we decided to do an exchange based on food. Students went back out into the country to collect food, the natural food. And through that process, they learned their histories. Their aunts and their uncles, they came together to help and to begin to tell them stories. And by doing that, they validate local knowledge, they validate historical knowledge, they validate the knowledge that their families and their clans and the people have. They're also in the contemporary world, they talk about local food economy, food deserts, lack of access to quality food, and what they can do about it. We have looked at international policies from the rights of indigenous peoples, where students have a right to their traditional foods as well as to develop new ones. We are about empowering students. We are about allowing our children to speak for themselves. That's why we brought them here. I'm so happy to be a part of that. I learned so much from them, especially when it comes to technology. They're the ones who show me how to do things. And so we'll let them talk for themselves. And thank you so much.
Yat Shay Twyla Donley and Shaq Lichini Nishlim, Betani Bashashin, Tachini Dashache, Hanagani Dashanella. I am Twyla Donley. I go to school at Nwork High School, and I'm a senior. And I will be talking about In the Garden of the Home God by the Navajo Kentuckians. It's a strong collaboration between the Navajos, us, and the Kentuckians, dealing with the food literacy and living a better and healthier lifestyle. The purpose is to build awareness about eating healthy, because everybody wants to be healthy. Nobody wants to be lazy and watching TV all day. And maintaining a good diet, just taking care of your body and knowing what to eat and what not to eat, and exercising. Everyone wants a good physique, and they want to be up and going and pumping through the day. And the main reason is to prevent diseases such as diabetes, high blood pressure, cancer, and obesity. The results that we want to see out of this program is developing youth development programs for the teens to succeed. My goal is I want to become a doctor someday, and I would like to see myself helping others who are not aware of their health issues and preventing them from occurring, and developing character and boosting self-confidence. Before this program, I was not confident in speaking in public, and increasing public awareness. We want to inform and share our information about what we learned about healthy foods and fast foods, and what happens if you don't eat right. And the impact that I learned from this program is brainstorming ideas and finding solutions, collaborating with other teens to discuss the solution for a healthy lifestyle, and building friendships that will last a lifetime. Before I got to know the Kentuckians, I didn't know them at all. They're just new faces. And through this program, it helped me build a bond that's some of you guys won't understand because for me right now they're like a family because I've known them through this whole process, and which is a good thing. And that is my presentation. Thank you.
Yat Asia Avery Charlie Asia, Kintlachini Nishle, Tsinajini Bashichin, Tatnistani Dashache, Do Dashanale. Hello, I'm Avery Charlie, and my presentation is an insight to better health. The trees are turning colors, a burnt crisp orange with a touch of red. On the ground, the leaves lay scattered. Some dance with a slight rustle of the breeze. On the concrete passageways, the students passed each other, talking. I am a Navajo high school student who was given the opportunity to join a program, but not any program, the Garden of the Home God program. In February 2013, my principal, Ms. Manolito, told me the news about the trip to Kentucky. I refused. But very carefully, because I did not want to hurt her feelings. The trip was a week long. My semesters were around the corner, and the baseball season, along with prom, fell in that week. I could not miss one day of school. When I returned home that day, I told my mom the news. She answered, "You go back and tell her you want to go before it's too late." I tried to reason with her why I turned down the trip, but in the process, she triggered a question I did not think of. What was Kentucky like? The trip was a new experience that reached out for my hand, and later that same night, I reached back. After my trip, I examined the nutritional table on every possible purchase when we shopped. While my mom valued staying on her food budget, I wanted to ensure that my family received the best nutritional value for our dollar. Not only did this increase our shopping time, but it lessened our purchases, and in return, we saved money. Since my participation in this program, I now watch what I eat. Before the program, I ate carelessly, even though I am an athlete. I train every day for sports and run during the weekends, so I do not have weight issues. Naturally, I thought I was fine, but my wellness became a big concern, especially for adding the proper nutrients. Whenever I got sick, my number one drink is an Ocean Spray Ruby Red grapefruit juice. My mom is the person who got me hooked on it. She would always drink it, and I wondered why. And as a result, I found the answer on the nutritional table. The percent of vitamin C is 150%. That's 50% more than orange juice. But the taste of the grapefruit is awful. Despite that, I know that the vitamin in the juice will assist me to fight the sickness. Furthermore, the knowledge about food I obtained from the Garden of the Home God program should not be kept hidden. I want to someday join the Special Diabetes Project and travel the Navajo Nation. My mission will be to inform the Diné people about the dangers of certain foods and how to manage the foods being eaten. When all the information is said and done, I hope that the diabetes rate will decrease and the number of years lived will increase among my people. I'm so glad I agreed to join this program. It has brought me to new places, experiences, and has built my family food values. Now I look at the nutritional value of food, and also I have the power of choice of what I eat. More so, without my mom's encouraging words, I would not have the same perception of food as I do today.
Hello. Yat She'e Courtney Jones Inishe, the Beth Jinishle, Bilgana Bashin, Ashin Dashache, Todajini Dashanale. Hello, my name is Courtney Jones. I'm currently a sophomore at Nwork High School, so I'm the baby. Shadaji. I learned about Fast Food Nation by Eric Schultzer. I don't know if any of you guys have read the book. Yeah. I learned about it through my English class at Nwork High School on the Navajo Nation. And as soon as I started reading the book, I felt drawn in. Like there's just something about the book that wanted me to keep reading. Like I couldn't stop reading. I've divided my impacts into 3 topics: knowledge, attitude, and habits. Before reading Fast Food Nation, I knew fast foods were unhealthy, but it also often impacts the budget of families. Like for example, when my family of 6 goes out to eat, we can easily spend over $100. The 3 impacts are: 1, that I have the knowledge of how fast foods are made; 2, the kind of misinformation consumers often learn; and 3, I feel the need to help my community as well as being more aware of things I consume myself. My second topic is attitude. Before reading Fast Food Nation, I wasn't too interested in the dietaries of my community. Like it wasn't really a priority or a concern, which was kind of selfish, but I've matured and now I see it as more of a concern. The change in my attitude definitely made me want to help my community, to be aware of the knowledge I gained reading Fast Food Nation. I'm definitely more conscious. I want change for a healthier, better future. Second, I'm disappointed the country and its politics would kind of allow the growth of a fast food nation the way it did. My Navajo Nation doesn't permit alcohol on the Navajo Nation itself, but what my question was is why is it okay to let the unhealthy issues of dietary problems such as diabetes and obesity into the Navajo Nation? In many ways, our nation's leaders have failed Americans. Initially, I was sad to find out how fast foods were made, but I was also glad in a way. My last topic is habits. Before reading Fast Food Nation, my habits of eating really depended on like what time of day it was. I like to eat snacks in the afternoon, late in the afternoon. My mood also played a role in my eating habits. I am an athlete at Nwork High School, and as an athlete, when you travel away for games, you often have no choice but to eat at like Burger King or McDonald's. Very little do we eat at Subway. Model student athletes from various high schools eat before and often after their games. The impacts: after reading the book, I try to purchase better foods after games, such as chicken wrap and a salad at McDonald's, in contrast to Big Mac and fries. I try not to eat snacks too late in the afternoon, especially sweets or greasy foods, because when I practice or I have any extracurricular activities, I feel really slow and tired. Here's some facts that kind of caught my attention or kind of like wowed me in the book. In 1968, McDonald's operated about 1,000 restaurants. Today it has about 20,000 restaurants worldwide and opens at least 1,000 each year. In Nwork, Navajos have access to not just McDonald's, they have access to 9 other fast food franchises, and that's just in Nwork alone. McDonald's led the trend in fast food chains. It decided the style, and consumers adored that fact. In order for other franchises to stay in business, they followed to keep up with what McDonald's did. You can see all the virtues and destructiveness of our fast food nation. Only a handful of American companies directed their marketing at children, like Disney, McDonald's, candy makers, toy makers, manufacturers of breakfast cereal. Today, children are being targeted by phone companies, oil companies, and automobile companies, as well as clothing stores and restaurant chains, so pretty much everything. In conclusion, eating fast foods isn't completely our community's fault, but it is our responsibility and choice as consumers. If we continue to blame our community, the negative addiction will not change, nor will we as a community in the Navajo Nation. And Tyson Yazi is next.
Yate Tyson Yazi ni she Turichin ni Schlingo nakane Bashichin Touching Dashiche Taban Dashinelli. Hello everybody, my name is Tyson Yazi and I am a senior at Nwork High School. And my presentation is going to be about my outlook on sacred food. The 4 workshops have made some huge impacts on me. One important impact from the workshops is that the Kentucky students helped me get out of my shyness and stage fright. I was not used to standing in front of a crowd of people I did not know. Since the first conference in February of 2013 at the Ned College in Saley, Arizona, the Kentuckians have always told me not to be afraid, and they said I did a good job. I never once felt put down. At the first conference at the Ned College, one of the questions that was asked was, what food is sacred and why? When this question was asked, I did not have an answer. I did not consider food as sacred. Kentuckian student Devin Brown said his sacred food is a traditional family recipe called tetrazzini that he and his family ate whenever they want. Immediately, I thought of corn and the many ways that my culture used this. Blue corn mush, kneel down bread, blue cornbread, and roasted or steamed corn on the cob. And most important, tadidine. Now I consider sacred food to be very traditional and very valuable. For example, I love blue corn mush. Traditionally, the Navajo ate this plain without adding sugars or sweeteners, but I like mine with sugar. My family enjoys this regularly. A family recipe that is passed down from generation to generation is an example of sacred food that is very valuable. We Navajo use the corn for almost all traditional purposes. We use tadidine as a medicine. When the corn stalk matures, we tap the corn pollen from the tassels that we collect. We use the corn pollen when we pray in the morning and in our ceremonies. Another impact is that the knowledge of all food can be sacred. Yes, there may be foods that are very unhealthy for our bodies, but they do help with strengthening us. A Snickers candy bar is one of the best snacks I have after hauling wood for about almost 2 hours. I believe the reason why a lot of people eat unhealthy food is because most of us do not have very good access to healthy and fresh foods. Everywhere we go, around every corner, there is a food swamp of fast food restaurants. Eating at all these fast food restaurants can lead to obesity. Foods that are high in sugars like soda, candy, and chips can lead to diabetes. We can prevent obesity and diabetes if we cut down on the amount of sugar and fast food we eat and change our diet and start eating more fresh and healthy foods like our vegetables. We can also cut down on the high in fructose corn syrup. In this picture of the Navajo Nation, the orange pinpoints are grocery markets. They are all spread out due to the vast land of the Navajo Nation. In this picture of West End Louisville is a food swamp of about 23 fast food restaurants. And in this picture of Massachusetts, the orange pinpoints are all grocery markets. In conclusion, I believe we have a long road ahead of us. My greatest hope is that we continue on the work on food literacy to improve the health of my people and everyone across this great nation. Thank you.
Yat a she a darla Fred Yinishe, Twitchin English, Sitnajini Beshes Chin do Honolahni Dasha Che do Honolahni Dashanella. Hello, I have just introduced myself in Navajo, and my name is Darla Fred. I go to Windrock High School, and I live on the Navajo Reservation in Arizona. My presentation will be about how to become empowered. Knowledge plays a key part in bringing people together. To get to know a person, you have to know their likes and dislikes. Having a conversation with another individual is based on forming bonds and building bridges. By building these bridges, you become open to a new world. They say you learn something new every day. Well, today, being at this conference, I have learned we impact a lot of people, and also that an individual is not knowledgeable without expanding to others. There are many obstacles, but there is always a way to overcome them. We have been able to apply what we have learned today, and that is not just about me anymore. It is now about how we can help others. My goal is to become a children's doctor, not just any doctor, a pediatrician. I believe that if we can help the young while they're still small and still yet to learn, that we can help the next generation when they become middle-aged and when they become senior citizens. If we can do that, then we can lower the epidemics of diabetes, high blood pressure, obesity, and heart disease. The results are of us being here today. We never thought that we would be here. We have presented to many people in Arizona, Vermont, and now here in Boston. We have made an enormous impact on people's thoughts and what type of food they want to eat, how long they want to live, and how they want to live their life. There are also results from this workshop that have given me a different view of the world. I'm growing up on the Navajo reservation in Arizona, and I have never thought that I would be here today. They have showed me a new healthy food, how to prepare it, and that it is not all about salad. Being in this workshop has given me an idea of how I want to live when I graduate from high school. The journey continues. I believe that if we can educate the young, then they will be more knowledgeable and they can change the world. There are more results to come which will result in change. Thank you.
I want to thank not only you guys for giving us this opportunity, but I just want to be thankful for the chance to be able to be in a situation where I'm actually being an educator that can do what education is supposed to be, where we see people empowered, where we see people changing community, and we see it changing for good. Not to make a lot of money, but to make somebody live longer, to make somebody else's life better. And I want to thank all of you guys and wish you guys the best of luck as you guys move forward. I want to thank Vice President Rexley Jim for helping this happen. And I also want to thank Mr. Peters here for providing a collaborative model where we can really support each other and continue to grow.